Welcome to Life Stories. What if the person you trusted most hid a secret so deep it could unravel everything you believed about love, family, and truth? Imagine standing at the edge of a moment where happiness and betrayal collide, a day meant for celebration, suddenly shadowed by doubt. This isn't just a story about a wedding or a child, it's about the fragile threads that hold us together when everything threatens to fall apart. Stay with me, because what unfolds will challenge your heart and mind, revealing that sometimes the greatest battles are fought not in the courtroom, but within ourselves. Now let's step into a world where love and secrets intertwine, and nothing is quite as it seems. The sun had barely risen over Westwood when Jake Harrison slid into the driver's seat of his sleek black car, adjusting his crisp navy blue tie. Today was supposed to be the culmination of every dream he'd chased, a day bathed in light, love, and promise. Emily Parker, radiant and serene in her delicate lace gown, awaited him at Grace Church, where they would exchange vows and begin a life they'd both imagined 1,000 times over. But as Jake glanced in the rearview mirror, rehearsing the words he'd say, a ripple of unease crept beneath his skin, a shadow that refused to fade. Westwood streets, normally familiar and comforting, felt strangely alien that morning. The quiet hum of the city buzzed beneath the weight of his racing thoughts. Jake had never been one to dwell on doubts, but a chance encounter just moments ago gnawed relentlessly at his mind. As he took a sharp turn down a narrow street, a shortcut he had driven countless times, a flash of yellow caught his eye. His heart stuttered. There she was. A little girl, no older than 5, with chestnut curls bouncing wildly as she chased a scarlet ball down the sun-dappled sidewalk. She wore a bright yellow dress that seemed to catch the light itself, shimmering in the early morning like a beacon. But it wasn't just her innocence that stopped Jake cold. It was her eyes. Deep, dark pools that held the same storm and softness he'd seen 1,000 times in Emily's gaze. The same crooked smile, the same tiny mole just below her right cheekbone. Jake's foot slammed on the brakes, the tires screaming against the pavement as the car skidded to a halt. He couldn't tear his eyes away, even as the little girl looked up and smiled, a smile so achingly familiar that it sent a jolt straight through his chest. It was impossible, he told himself. This couldn't be real, yet the name called from the doorway shattered his disbelief. Lily. The girl's carefree laughter echoed as she ran into the arms of a tall man whose face was etched with lines of worry and resignation. Jake's breath caught. Who was Lily, and why did his heart betray him with a sinking certainty that this was the secret Emily had buried deep beneath her calm exterior? The weight of the moment pressed down on him as he finally tore his gaze away and continued driving. But the image of Lily, the little girl who mirrored his bride in every way, lingered like a ghost, haunting the edges of his thoughts. Arriving at Grace Church, Jake tried to steady himself. The grand stained glass windows filtered sunlight into a kaleidoscope of colors, casting a sacred glow on the rows of guests dressed in their finest. Emily stood at the altar, a vision of purity and grace, yet Jake caught a flicker of something fleeting in her eyes. Was it fear, guilt, or a silent plea for understanding? The ceremony began, the priest's voice steady and warm, yet Jake's mind was a tempest. When the moment came to speak his vows, his heart pounded like thunder, drowning out the gentle hum of whispered blessings. He looked at Emily, searching for reassurance, but found only a fragile silence. And yet, with trembling lips, he said the words he'd practiced. "I do." Applause erupted around them, but for Jake, the sound was hollow. The knot in his stomach tightened, and the secret he sensed threatened to unravel everything he had believed about love, trust, and the future. Later, at the reception in the sprawling garden of their Westwood estate, laughter and music floated on the warm breeze. But Jake remained restless, haunted. He caught Emily's gaze once, fleeting and guarded, before she slipped away to talk with Ryan Parker, her brother. Ryan's presence was a shadow, a reminder of a past Jake barely understood. Seeking answers, Jake found Megan, Emily's closest friend, her face clouded with hesitation when he asked about Lily. Megan's silence screamed volumes, the unspoken warning echoing in Jake's chest. Some truths are meant to stay buried. Yet Jake could not ignore the gnawing suspicion. Who was Lily? What had Emily hidden from him? As night cloaked the estate, Jake's desperation grew. In the quiet garden, Rachel Bennett, another confidant of Emily's, approached him, her eyes filled with a painful secret. Her voice was barely a whisper as she confessed. Lily isn't just some stranger, Jake. She's tied to a past Emily tried to forget, a past that could destroy everything you two have built. Jake's breath caught. The foundation of his life with Emily trembled beneath the weight of the unknown. Love and doubt collided in a brutal dance inside him. He realized this was no longer just a wedding day. It was the beginning of a battle for truth, trust, and the family he thought he knew. What would you do if you were in Jake's shoes, standing at the edge of a secret that could shatter your entire world? Would you confront Emily immediately, risking everything, or dig deeper, risking the fragile peace you've just found? Could love survive a truth so powerful it threatens to undo it all? The night air thickened with tension as Jake's world tilted on the brink of revelation. And in that silence, one thing was certain: nothing would ever be the same again. The shadows of the past were stirring, and Jake was about to face a truth more dangerous than he ever imagined. The story was only just beginning. The days that followed felt like Jake was living in a waking nightmare. The image of Lily, the little girl with Emily's eyes, haunted every corner of his mind. Every smile from Emily now seemed layered with a secret he wasn't allowed to uncover. At night, he lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering how well he truly knew the woman beside him. How many lives had she lived before this one? And what part of her past was she still hiding? Ryan Parker's presence only thickened the tension. The older brother, with his cold, calculating eyes, seemed to lurk just beyond the edges of Jake's new family life, waiting to reclaim what he believed was his, Lily. The custody battle had been more than Jake anticipated. Ryan was ruthless, wielding his wealth and influence like a weapon. Every phone call brought threats veiled in civility, every meeting a test of Jake's resolve. One evening, after a particularly grueling day filled with legal maneuvering and whispered rumors, Jake returned home to find Emily sitting alone in the dim glow of the living room, Lily asleep in her arms. For a moment, the weight of the world lifted as Jake watched them, a fragile tableau of the family he wanted so desperately to protect. "Emily," Jake began softly, his voice trembling with emotion he struggled to contain. "I need to know. Why didn't you tell me about Lily before? Why hide her from me?" Emily's eyes shimmered with tears, but her voice was steady. "I was scared, Jake, scared of losing everything. Lily isn't just my past, she's my heart, but she comes with shadows I thought I could keep buried." Jake's chest tightened. Shadows? What kind of shadows? She hesitated, then revealed the truth that shattered the fragile peace Jake had tried to hold on to. Years ago, before she met Jake, Emily had fled a life that almost destroyed her. A toxic family environment ruled by Ryan's greed and manipulation. Lily was her daughter from that dark chapter, a living reminder of a past she fought to escape. But Ryan had never given up. He saw Lily not as a child, but as a pawn in his game, a key to reclaiming the Parker legacy and control over Emily's life. The revelation hit Jake like a freight train. His love for Emily clashed with the storm of betrayal and fear that engulfed him. How could she carry such a secret without trusting him? And yet, here was the truth, raw, painful, and impossible to ignore. As the legal battle intensified, so did the strain on their relationship. Ryan's relentless attacks tested every ounce of Jake's strength and faith. Courtroom hearings bled into sleepless nights, whispered threats morphed into open hostility. Ryan's lawyers dug mercilessly into Emily's past, weaponizing her pain, painting her as an unfit mother desperate to hide the truth. Jake found himself torn between his fierce desire to protect Emily and Lily, and the growing fear that the woman he loved was crumbling beneath the pressure. One night, after a particularly brutal session, Emily broke down, her composure shattered. "I'm so tired, Jake," she whispered, her voice cracking. "I don't know if I can keep fighting. Sometimes I wonder if it's worth it, if I can ever outrun the past." Jake pulled her close, his own heart breaking. "We're in this together. Lily's our future, and I'll fight for her with everything I have. But you have to let me in." No more secrets. Emily nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks, but the road ahead was still shrouded in uncertainty. Then, just when Jake thought the worst was behind them, a new piece of the puzzle fell into his lap. A hidden letter, slipped anonymously under his door. The handwriting was unmistakably Emily's mother's, Margaret Parker, a woman with a reputation as cold and calculating as her son Ryan. The letter hinted at a long-buried family secret, a truth darker than Jake had ever imagined, involving Lily's true parentage and a betrayal that had fractured the Parker family for decades. Jake stared at the letter, heart pounding. This was more than a custody battle. It was a war for the soul of the family, tangled in lies, sacrifices, and buried sins. And now Jake had to decide how deep he was willing to dig, knowing every answer risked tearing the fragile family apart. The stakes had never been higher. Love, trust, and loyalty were tested to their limits, and Jake realized that to protect Emily and Lily, he might have to confront not just Ryan, but the ghosts of a past long thought dead. Could Jake unravel the truth without destroying the family he was fighting to save? Would Emily's secrets ultimately save them or tear them irrevocably apart? What do you think Jake should do now? Should he push forward to uncover the full truth, no matter the cost, or try to shield his family from further pain by holding back? How far would you go to protect those you love, even when it means confronting your deepest fears? The battle lines have been drawn, but the final war has yet to begin. The shadows lurking in the Parker legacy are stirring, and Jake is about to face a choice that will change everything. The story continues. What lies buried beneath the surface is darker and more dangerous than anyone imagined. Stay tuned for what comes next. The courtroom was silent except for the measured footsteps of the judge as she entered, her gaze sweeping over the tense faces before her. Jake Harrison sat beside Emily Parker, his fingers intertwined tightly with hers. Lily, nestled quietly in Emily's lap, seemed oblivious to the storm raging around her. This was more than a custody hearing. It was a reckoning of the past, a confrontation with shadows long kept hidden. The evidence laid bare by Ryan Parker's aggressive legal team painted a cruel picture of deceit and manipulation. But Jake and Emily stood resolute, armed with love and an unshakable commitment to protect Lily. When Emily took the stand, her voice quivered but carried the strength of every sacrifice she had made. She spoke of the pain, the fear, and the desperate hope to build a life free from the chains of a toxic family legacy. As she recounted the hidden letter, the fractured truths, and the love that bound her to Lily, the courtroom held its breath. The judge's eyes softened, moved not by legal technicalities, but by the raw humanity before her. When the gavel finally struck, it was more than a ruling. It was a declaration that love could outshine even the darkest legacies. Ryan's face hardened, but the fire in Jake's chest blazed brighter. They had won. Lily was safe, but victory came at a cost. The scars of the battle lingered like shadows in their home. Emily's gaze often drifted to the past, to the painful secrets she had fought so hard to bury. Jake, though relieved, knew their family's peace was fragile. He found himself lying awake, wrestling with questions that no court decision could answer. Could they truly escape the ghosts that haunted them? Was their love strong enough to heal the wounds left behind? One quiet evening, as rain traced silver rivers down the windowpane, Jake found Emily in the garden, holding Lily close. The storm outside echoed the turmoil within them. Emily looked up, eyes glistening. "I'm scared," she confessed. "Scared that the past will catch us again, that I'm not the woman you thought I was." Jake took her hands, his voice steady despite the ache in his heart. "Emily, the past doesn't define you. It's how we choose to move forward that matters. We're a family. Imperfect, scarred, but ours. And I promise, whatever comes, we face it together." Tears fell freely then, not from sorrow, but from the fragile hope of a new beginning. Lily stirred in Emily's arms, a gentle reminder of the innocence worth fighting for. Weeks turned to months, and the Parker legacy's grip loosened. Ryan faded into the background, his threats growing distant whispers. Yet, the battle had changed Jake and Emily irrevocably. They had learned that love was not just about joy and light. It was about weathering storms, confronting fears, and embracing vulnerability. But life, in its unpredictable rhythm, had one last twist. On a quiet afternoon, Jake received an unexpected phone call. The voice on the other end was soft but urgent, a woman claiming to be a distant relative of Emily's, revealing a long-lost piece of family history. A secret about Lily's father, a man who might still be alive, waiting in the shadows. Jake felt his world tilt again, the fragile peace shattered not by malice, but by the relentless pull of unanswered questions. The journey was far from over. As he hung up, he looked out over the garden where Emily and Lily played, sunlight casting golden halos around them. The fight for their family was ongoing, but so was their love, resilient, fierce, and unyielding. They had faced darkness and emerged not unscathed, but unbroken. What do you think of Jake and Emily's journey? Did their love conquer the shadows, or did the past leave wounds that could never fully heal? Share your thoughts below, and if this story touched your heart, comment 100 to show your support. Where are you watching from? Don't forget to share this story with your friends. Thank you for watching Life Stories.